how in the heck are you supposed to consistently win the battle against gluttony when your spouse is a food pusher? When the primary stumbling block for you in your obedience in this area of life is your freaking spouse, is the person at home. When your primary temptation is the person you trust most, how the heck are you supposed to stay on track with honoring your body? I'm going to cover some scripture in this video that I think you can use as a resource to send to your spouse to help them understand how big of a struggle it really is when they're tempting you with food, and how Christ actually recommends we deal with people who are causing us to stumble. And I don't just want this to be something that convicts your spouse and something that, confirms your bias that it's not good when your spouse tempts you with food. I also am going to share scripture here to empower both you and your spouse to get on the same page with the pursuit of honoring your body and how important that really is for you, not just because you want to be healthy, not just because you want to look better and feel better and be healthy for your kids, but because of how this is something that you can do to the glory of God. And I think this video will be a really good resource that potentially shifts the culture of honoring your body in your home and hopefully creates more peace around this for you guys, and potentially even impacts further generations for you guys with honoring their bodies, with the little ones, the kiddos, and the grandkiddos. So let's get into this. Matthew 18, 6 through 7. If anyone causes one of these little ones to stumble, those who believe in me to stumble, it would be better for them to have a large millstone hung around their neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea. Woe to the world because of the things that cause people to stumble. Such things must come, but woe to the person through whom they come. If you're, the food pusher watching this, Jesus treats people who cause others to stumble very seriously. Very seriously. He says, woe to the person through who they come. And so, here's the thing. If you're the person in the relationship really serious about taking care of your body, you are right to feel that it's unfair when your spouse causes you to stumble and says, hey, just have another one, don't take it so seriously. You're right to feel that that's wrong. And if you're the person who's pushing the food, yes, I know this is convicting, and I'm not condemning you and saying, you suck, get out of your spouse's life, they're better off with someone fit. No. I'm just saying, let's be honest about what we're doing, and let's be honest about how much we are causing, our spouses to stumble by tempting them with food when they're in the pursuit of honoring their bodies. Okay, it's a very, very serious thing. Jesus suggests that it's better to have a large millstone hung around our necks when we cause others to stumble, to be drowned in the sea. So let's just, be real here. Now, the other thing I want to make sure I'm sharing with you, this is more so for the spouse who is on track, okay, and is taking care of their health and fitness, and you're, maybe watching this with your spouse or hoping they're watching this, and you're thinking, yeah, stop doing it, stop tempting me. I want you to remember that it's not okay to blame your spouse for when you give into that temptation. It's not okay for you to blame your spouse when you give into that temptation, okay? Even if your spouse is causing you to stumble and placing a stumbling block before you, you still have responsibility ultimately in that action on whether or not you decide to eat that certain food or overeat that certain food or whatever it is. Okay, you still ultimately have a choice in what you do. And it's not your spouse's responsibility, even if they are partially at fault, okay? So don't blame your spouse for why you're struggling. But at the same time, recognize that, it's not good that they're tempting you. Matthew 18, 8 through 9 actually points the direction a bit more on you, potentially. And it says this: if your hand or foot causes you to stumble, cut it off and throw it away. So if we're, in this kind of place where we're, saying, hey, honey, help me out here, also look at yourself and see, where are you causing yourself to stumble? Are there still crappy foods that you keep around the house? Are you still leaving, your exercise as something that's optional on your calendar? Where are you causing yourself to stumble? Jesus says, it's better for you to enter life maimed or crippled than to have 2 hands or 2 feet and be thrown into eternal fire. So if you feel like you're being disobedient in the area of honoring your body, like it's better for you to completely cut out the things that are causing you to stumble than to keep on going in that disobedience. Jesus goes on and says, if your eye causes you to stumble, gouge it out and throw it away. It's better for you to enter life with 1 eye than to have 2 eyes and to be thrown into the fire of hell. Like very, very serious stuff here, guys, when we're talking about what causes us to stumble and who causes us to stumble, okay? And so I hope that this is a conviction for both you and your spouse. Now, here is what you should be doing in the home to get on the same page. Okay, this is message for you, person who is taking care of themselves right now, and also a message for your spouse who is not making it any easier right now. When we are seeking to have peace in this area and have victory in this area, I want you to look to Matthew 18:19. Matthew 18:19 says this, if 2 of you on earth agree about anything, it will be done for you by my Father in heaven. And so something that you should seek to establish in your marriage and in your home is agreement with God's call on your life to honor your body. And notice I didn't say agreement that you guys should both be ripped, okay? That's not what I'm saying you guys have to agree to. All I'm saying is there does need to be agreement with the fact that this is something that you believe is worth pursuing. There needs to be agreement with why this is important to you. There needs to be agreement. Your spouse needs to understand that, hey, this is not just something I'm doing for vanity's sake. This is not something I'm doing so I can look better and, look elsewhere, so to speak. This is something I'm doing because it's part of what God's calling me to. It is part of me wanting to be a great husband to you or wife to you. It is part of me wanting to be healthy for our kids and our grandkids. Okay, so there needs to be agreement in the home of why you are doing this. Create agreement in the home. When there's agreement in the home, it will be done for us by our Father in heaven. Okay. The second thing that needs to be done in your guys' marriage, yes, this is marriage advice, and I'm not saying that I execute this perfectly in every area, but I'm definitely saying that this has been fruitful in my marriage, and I've seen it be fruitful in the lives of the men that I work with, in their marriages. But we need to understand that one of the purposes of marriage is actually sanctification. That means that one of your roles and duties to your spouse, one of the reasons God has brought you together, is to make each other more like Christ, to remove sinful living from each other's lives. And so, as a spouse of somebody who is pursuing fitness, somebody who's honoring their body, even if that's not something God's called you into right now in this season, it's still your responsibility to help them and empower them in being obedient in this area of their lives. It is part of your responsibility to sanctify them. 1 Corinthians 7:14 says, for the unbelieving husband is made holy because of his believing wife, and the unbelieving wife is made holy because of her husband. So there is a very real impact that you have on your spouse's sanctification. And if your spouse is really serious about this, and they're pursuing it for the right reasons, they're pursuing it for the glory of God, then this is not just to look better. It is not even just to feel better and be healthier. It is part of their walk with Christ. They want to honor the temple of God. And it is part of your role as their spouse to empower them in that sanctification process. The Bible actually says in 1 Peter 4:1 that we should take part in the attitude of Christ who suffered in the body, because whoever suffers in the body is done with sin. It also says whether we eat or drink, do it all for the glory of God. And so this process of honoring our bodies, it is definitely not just for selfish gain. It is definitely not just for looking better so that, you can look elsewhere. Not at all. And if you're the spouse who's, causing the other one to stumble and you're dealing with some of that insecurity, and it's maybe holding a mirror up to how you've been disobedient in this area of your life, then good. Your spouse, wanting to be fit, has now sanctified you because you're recognizing where you've been dishonoring the temple of God. And so that's how this all works, and that is what we need in the home. And if you are dealing with, a spouse who's a food pusher, so to speak, or who's tempting you, and you're seeking to have more victory in this area, then remember, Let's create agreement in the home about what and why God is calling you into this. And let's have an understanding that regardless of if your spouse is on the same page in this season of their life with their health and fitness, it is part of their role as your spouse to help sanctify you, to help you along this path, and to not cause you to stumble. I hope this helps. Hope this is resourceful for you and your family. God bless. See you on the next one.